All right, so one of the things I've been wanting to share with you guys is about breathing. And I know you're all breathing because you're here, but are we breathing properly for a vinyasa style practice? Um, if you're not familiar with the practice of Ujjayi breathing, you hear me say that in every class. At the beginning, you hear me say it throughout. And I know some of you are familiar with it and some of you are actually practicing it, but I know some of you aren't, whether it's because you don't know how or because you're not doing it. And the reason I know is because I can't hear you, right? When practicing Ujjayi, as I'm walking around the room, I should be able to hear your breathing. And in fact, as you get really more astute with Ujjayi breath, I should be able to hear you from the other end of the room, right? Ujjayi breathing, it's just a form of pranayama, if you will, breath control. And why would we want to practice Ujjayi? For one, when we're engaging with Ujjayi breathing, it gives you a focal point. It becomes sort of a dristi, an inward gazing technique. We talk about pratyahara, sense withdrawal. And so as we're in our practice and we're deepening as we go along through the flow, it's a way of kind of taking our senses from the external and helping us connect, because I'm not just checking, yes, am I breathing or not, I can actually hear it, I can actually feel it. So it's a focal point. And also with the vinyasa practice, as you're doing the transitions, you hear me say oftentimes, take the entire exhale and for the transition, or you hear me say that the transition is as essential to the postures, the practice as the posture itself. So there's no disconnect, if you will, from holding a warrior one to that transition to chaturanga, right? So again, it's a focal point because you can hear it and you can feel it. On a physical level, it helps to build some heat in your practice as well. Now, from an energetic standpoint, it's a technique or method that helps us to cultivate prana or life force and kind of sustain that and cultivate or build it, rather than when we kind of get in that chest, panicky breathing, and we might take 2 or 3 breaths even in a transition, we're really losing some vitality or life force rather than building that. Okay, so just briefly, it's not that hard to learn, but it can be challenging to remind yourself to practice it, and it also can be challenging to change, right? I've always breathed this way in my practice, so I don't want to change that. But I really encourage that you do. When I started doing this as my teacher insisted on it, it really did change my practice quite a bit. And, physically, energetically, and especially mentally, it becomes that mindfulness component. So if you haven't practiced before, we will this morning. Just sitting up nice and tall so we can do our belly breathing, our 3-part, or diaphragmatic breathing. All right, we'll sit up nice and tall. And the way I like to kind of introduce this, sometimes it's called cobra breath, victorious breath. There's different terms. In modern terms that you hear called Darth Vader breathing, because it kind of sounds that way, right? But it's just a matter of engaging the muscles of your throat. Easy way to kind of get used to it is to take an inhale through the nose. And we're going to open the mouth and exhale like you're trying to see your breath on a cold day. It's that easy, right? Or fog up a piece of glass. Yep, just like that. And you want to kind of control that, so it's not like a sigh, right? It's inhale through the nose, and then a controlled exhale through the mouth. Now what we'll do is inhale through the nose, and as you exhale through the mouth, about halfway, close your mouth and see if you can still hear that sound. So it's so we'll do a couple of those, and then see if you can do that with the mouth closed. And even on the inhalation, you kind of have that same, we're engaging what's called the glottis. It's a structure in the throat, right, that kind of restricts the breath a little bit. So that's all we're doing is engaging the glottis. And then as we inhale, we should start to hear that sound. And same thing on the exhale. And it can really help you to regulate the flow of your breathing. Control the inhalation and control the exhalation. So there's no time in our practice we're getting that panicky breathing or that shallow chest breathing. We're going to control the breath throughout. And when you can control your breathing, it's going to control your heart rate, it's going to control your blood pressure, it's going to calm the nervous system. Right? So what I'm going to challenge you guys to do today is to practice Ujjayi throughout our vinyasa, throughout the asana, throughout our practice. Let's give it a go. Thank you.